Hi everybody, I'm going to show you a quick video on how to thread a needle and also to tie the knot on the end of it. The first thing you're going to do is go in the craft materials cabinet and look in this box. Hopefully you can find the color you need in the little blue box. Please look carefully. I do not want you going into the brand new containers, which they ask first on them, until you've really looked to see if you can find your yellow or your green or your white somewhere in the smaller box in here. Once you've picked your color, I do recommend you use embroidery thread, which is the thicker thread, rather than this thin thread, which is not as strong. It's harder to see, but it just depends on what you're doing. So if you're not sure, just ask me. So once you've picked your color, you need to cut it, and I like to stretch my hand out from my fingertips, and I know you can't see this, but all the way to not my first shoulder, but the second shoulder on the other arm, and that'll give me about 24 inches. That's a good place to start. Most of you are not going to be able to go around your entire, whatever you end up doing, your entire little stuffy with just one piece of thread, so just keep that in mind. Okay, now once you have your thread, you get a needle. The needles are kept in my top drawer of my filing cabinet above the iPads. You can come to me and ask for one, or I might just have them out. A lot of them don't have sharp tips, so you really want to find one that has a good point. And you got to check it out from me and then put it back, because needles tend to fall and disappear. Okay, now once you have your needle, you gotta thread it. Now, I don't recommend you guys double up the thread with the embroidery thread unless you really want a thick line here. Okay, so like a really thick line. I really just, I don't double it up. Now, to get the point of your thread, to get it in the eye easier, I do lick my fingers to get that nice point, and then your goal is to just get the thread through the eye. All right. And you want to pull it down quite a bit, because when you're sewing, you don't want it to come out. Okay. Now, I always see students tying knots on their thread, and I think that's an okay thing to do when you're very, very young, because it's really hard to not pull the thread out of your eye when you're sewing. However, I think that you guys should be able to sew just fine without doing that, so I don't recommend you tie any knots onto the needle. The only knot that you should have is on the end of your thread here. Okay, now the way that I've been taught to tie the knot is to, again, unfortunately, just lick your finger and then twist it around your finger one time, and then just kind of roll it. And once you roll it, you pull, and you should have a little knot. It's actually pretty big at the end there. If you want, I kind of pulled it out a little bit. It's a good idea if you want. If your knot is kind of small the first time around, you can just do it again. Fortunately, I have a cut on my thumb, so it really hurts to do that. Okay, that's a pretty big knot. All right, so this is how you get started with just getting the thread inside your needle and then getting the knot at the end of your needle. I will do another video on some basic stitches. All right.